Hello beloved souls, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Podcasts channel. This channel is all about good vibes, positive energy, and meaningful conversations. To keep this space welcoming for everyone, I kindly ask that comments stay respectful, kind, and in the spirit of the content shared here. I reserve the right to delete any comments that don't align with this intention. No hard feelings, just protecting the vibe. Thanks for being here and spreading the light. Please be cautious of anyone claiming to represent Spiritual Podcast and asking you for money, donations, or personal information. We will never ask you for money through comments, messages, or DMs. All official updates and content come only from this channel. If you see suspicious activity, please report it immediately. Stay safe and thank you for being part of our community. If you enjoy the video and its content, please subscribe, share, and comment. Please be kind to other viewers of the channel. The video is about to start.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're really embarking on quite an extraordinary journey, I think. We're exploring these sources you've shared that, well, they paint a picture of humanity at a really pivotal moment. Imagine a future where, the impossible becomes commonplace, where the very fabric of society is being rewoven. That's the landscape we're digging into today.
Right.
And it's described as a decisive point in humanity's timeline, almost like a portal, leading to a deep and irreversible transformation.
That's pretty dramatic language.
It is. And it's not just one thing changing. It's technological, economic, and spiritual shifts all kind of intertwining like threads in a tapestry.
Yeah, you see that theme throughout.
And right from the start, the sources hit us with this powerful paradox. This coming era of unprecedented freedom also demands, unprecedented responsibility from every single one of us.
That freedom-responsibility link is key.
Definitely. And as always on the deep dive, our job here is just to objectively unpack and, distill the core ideas from your material. We want you to be able to consider these profound claims without us necessarily endorsing or dismissing them.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, and a real core insight from these sources, is how they connect things that might seem totally separate.
Like what?
Well, everything from, say, specific techniques for personal healing, practical stuff, to these huge planetary shifts and even cosmic influences. It's all brought under this one big umbrella of conscious evolution.
Okay.
The material really offers this unique blend. On one hand, you've got very practical opportunities for individual growth, for healing, and on the other, these sweeping, almost philosophical statements about where humanity is headed collectively. It suggests our individual awakening, our journey, isn't just personal. It's deeply fundamentally tied into this much larger planetary transformation that's supposedly happening.
That link between the personal and the universal.
Yeah.
That's definitely compelling. And the sources we're looking at today are quite diverse, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
We've got a very specific announcement about a particular healing course, which sounds intriguing in itself. And then this much broader, really visionary text that seems to be trying to map out humanity's entire destiny.
Quite a range.
It is. So we're going to navigate all of it for you, try to connect the dots and pull out those crucial nuggets of knowledge, those key insights, so you can really get a handle on what these sources are trying to convey.
Sounds good.
So let's start by grounding ourselves in the most maybe concrete piece of information we have from the material. Okay, so we kick off with this announcement. It's from the Escola de Fraternidades dos 12 Rayos, which translates roughly to the School of the Brotherhood of 12 Rays.
Right.
And they're putting out an invitation for something they call the Heik de Fraternidad Branca course, or Hike of the White Brotherhood. This specific course, led by an instructor, Doriana Tamburini, was apparently set to start September 9th. And significantly, it was highlighted as the last class of its kind for the year.
Creating a bit of urgency there.
Seems like it, and if you complete it successfully, you get a master certificate. But what's really interesting here is that it's not presented as just, another weekend healing workshop. It comes with some really distinctive, almost advanced claims.
Yeah, let's maybe clarify some of that terminology from your sources because it's quite specific. This Escuela de Fraternidad de 12 Rayos, it places this hike method within a particular spiritual lineage, right? For listeners who might not know, the Brotherhood of 12 Rays usually refers to a system of spiritual wisdom tied to different divine qualities or energy streams. Think of them as like emanations from a higher source guiding human evolution.
Okay, got it.
Now, the sources describe this specific hike as a remodelação por quantum, basically a remodeling or restructuring. And that word kwanin in this context, well, it suggests this isn't just some human revising the technique.
It's implying something more.
Exactly. It implies a higher, maybe enlightened consciousness guiding the update. So the idea is that this is a divinely inspired evolution of traditional hike, specifically tailored for what the sources call new times, or, humanity's evolving consciousness.
Right. And the practical application of this remodeled hike seems very focused, very direct.
Absolutely. The primary focus is stated clearly: autocura na autoaplicação y cura de outras pessoas.
So,
Self-healing through self-application and healing others.
okay.
So it positions this hike method as a powerful tool for, well, both your own well-being and for helping others. Kind of a decentralized approach to healing.
Makes sense.
And the course promises to teach a variety of special symbols, which immediately makes it stand out from, more conventional healing methods.
Right, and these aren't just generic symbols for, meditation or something. The source details some incredibly specific applications for these symbols, which is, well, it's quite striking. It really challenges our usual understanding of what healing might involve. Can you walk us through those?
Sure. So among the symbols taught are símbolos de protección, protection symbols. Pretty straightforward, right? Creating energetic boundaries or safeguards.
Okay. Standard enough, maybe?
Yeah, but then it gets into areas that really expand the definition. They mention símbolos antibióticos, antibiotic symbols.
Whoa, okay. Antibiotic, how?
Well, this is where the sources present a concept that really diverges. They're not suggesting these work chemically, like a pill.
Right.
Instead, the claim is they function energetically or vibrationally. They're supposed to help eliminar metais pesados, virus, bacterias y parasitas, eliminate heavy metals, viruses, bacteria, and parasites.
Energetically.
That's the idea. The sources are putting forward a non-physical approach to detoxification and pathogen elimination, suggesting disease can be tackled not just biologically, but at a more fundamental energetic frequency level.
That's a big claim.
It is. And maybe even more intriguingly, the course teaches symbols de remoção de implant et chips.
Implants and chips, like science fiction stuff or something
Okay.
else.
Well, the phrasing implies a belief in energetic or subtle implants. Not necessarily physical ones, though it's a bit ambiguous. But the idea is these can be removed using this hike method.
Wow, okay.
So that opens up a whole new dimension, doesn't it? Thinking about what might be affecting human health, mental clarity, even personal freedom, beyond what mainstream medicine usually looks at.
Definitely.
And the master level, which this course certifies you for, involves learning to initia outras pessoas neste hike. Basically, you gain the ability to initiate others into this method yourself.
So you become a teacher too.
Exactly. A master practitioner and a master teacher, able to propagate the method.
That's a really comprehensive path then, taking you from deep personal healing right through to mentoring and initiating others. And what's also quite compelling are the practical, real-world aspects they mention in the description, especially for anyone maybe feeling stuck or looking for a change professionally.
How so?
Well, the source explicitly says, você pode cobrar pelo atendimento e como mestre iniciando outras pessoas proporcionando uma renda extra e até mesmo principal.
Ah, the financial aspect.
Right. It means you can charge for your services, and as a master initiating others, you can create either extra income or even your main income.
Okay, so it's presented as a viable career path.
Exactly. It speaks directly to people who might feel a calling for something more than just a regular job. The description goes on to say it's for those fazendo uma transição de carreira e seguindo o propósito e missão da sua alma, people making a career change, following their soul's purpose and mission. It's this powerful blend, isn't it? Deeply personal spiritual development combined with a potential new way to make a living. It speaks to that search for purpose and practical skills, practical independence.
Yeah, it really connects the spiritual calling with real-world application, suggesting these practices aren't just, hobbies, but can be a path to a fulfilling livelihood. So we've just looked at how these sources lay out this very personal path, right?
Yeah.
Healing, finding purpose, maybe even a new career through this hike course.
Right. Very individual focused.
But then as we keep digging into the material you shared, the scope just dramatically widens. It suggests that these individual awakenings are actually part of something way bigger.
Bigger how?
Huge planetary shift, proclaiming nothing less than uma nova era de liberdade y responsabilidad, a new era of freedom and responsibility for everyone.
Okay, that's a significant jump in scale.
It is. The text says humanity is atravessando ponto decisivo na linha do tempo, crossing a decisive point in its timeline. calls it a portal que abre as portas para uma transformação profunda e irreversível.
A portal. Again, very evocative language.
Very. And it suggests this isn't just gradual change. It's a gateway, something fundamental, something you can't go back from.
And what's driving this transformation, according to the source?
Well, it highlights three key elements intertwining como fios de mesmo tecido, like threads of the same fabric. You've got avanzos tecnológicos, technological advances,
Okay.
mudanças económicas, economic changes,
Right.
and uma renovação espiritual, a spiritual renewal. All these are supposedly converging, preparing the way for o surgimento de uma era de liberdades sem precedentes, an unprecedented era of freedom.
This idea of a new era approaching with firmness, que se aproxima con firmeza, as the source puts it. That sounds like more than just, wishful thinking. It sounds like an unstoppable force. But for you, the listener, this might raise questions. Does firmness mean it's going to be a smooth, easy ride? Or could it imply something more forceful, maybe even disruptive? What does the source hint about the nature of this shift?
That's a really good question. The sources seem to imply not necessarily a gentle unfolding, but definitely an unyielding, resolute movement forward.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, it's suggesting these changes are now inevitable, regardless of any resistance. And that firmness could absolutely be disruptive to old ways of thinking, old systems. Anything rigid might break under that kind of pressure.
Okay.
And the source immediately brings in that central paradox that we mentioned earlier, right up front. This liberation será ao mesmo tempo benção e desafio. It will be both a blessing and a challenge.
So not a pure utopia.
Definitely not presented that way. It explicitly states, como en toda dádiva cósmica a liberdade, sempre traz consigo a necesidade da responsabilidad. Like any cosmic gift, freedom always brings with it the need for responsibility.
That link again.
It's presented as a universal law, almost. A cosmic gift that always comes paired with the need for accountability, for mature handling of that freedom.
Right.
So this isn't just about what's happening to us or what goodies we might get. It's profoundly about what's expected of us, how we choose to engage with these new freedoms consciously, ethically. That really sets a critical theme for everything else we're going to explore here.
Okay, so building on this grand vision of a new era, the sources then pivot to what is, honestly, one of the most compelling and maybe radical claims in the whole thing.
Which is?
The revelación de tecnologías por muito tempo reprimidas y ocultadas da humanidad. The revelation of technologies long suppressed and hidden from humanity.
The suppressed tech angle. Yeah, that's a big one.
It is. And what's crucial here is how insistent the source is that these aren't just ficción científica, science fiction.
Oh, they stress that point.
They call it realidad concreta que siempre esteve ao alcance da humanidad. Concrete reality that has always been within humanity's reach. That immediately challenges our whole understanding of what's possible, doesn't it? And frankly, what might have been deliberately withheld. It makes you wonder, what else have we been told is impossible that's actually real, just waiting to be revealed or rediscovered?
And the sources are surprisingly specific about what these extraordinary technologies are. They describe them in ways that really push our current scientific understanding.
Like what, for instance?
Well, they talk about aparelhos de energía libre, capazes de abastecer cidades enteras sem custo ou poluição. Free energy devices, able to power whole cities. No cost, no pollution.
Free energy, that's the holy grail, isn't it?
Pretty much. And this isn't just, better solar panels. It implies a fundamental grasp of energy generation that taps into some ubiquitous, maybe inexhaustible source. Zero-point energy, perhaps, or some kind of ambient field.
Wow. Imagine the implications.
Exactly. A world where energy scarcity, environmental damage from fuel, major drivers of conflict and inequality just become things of the past.
Okay, what else?
Then it mentions sistemas antigravitacionais que pueden revolucionar o transporte y exploración do espacio anti-gravity systems, revolutionizing transport and space exploration.
Anti-gravity, seriously.
That's what it says. And again, this isn't just like faster planes or rockets. It applies mastery over fundamental forces, potentially allowing for, maybe instantaneous travel over vast distances without conventional propulsion, radically changing our relationship with space, even the cosmos.
Mind-bending stuff.
And perhaps most impactful personally, kind of echoing some of those Heik ideas we talked about.
The healing aspect.
Right. The sources mention instrumentos de cura cuántica baseados en frecuencias de resonancias que podrían restaurar cuerpos en mente con rapidez y armonía. Quantum healing instruments based on frequencies, resonances, restoring body and mind quickly, harmoniously.
So moving beyond just chemistry and biology.
Seems like it. Into a vibrational understanding of health, where imbalances are corrected, maybe at a subatomic or energetic level, leading to rapid, complete healing. These are just small improvements, you see.
No, not at all.
They represent a complete paradigm shift. Energy, transport, health, fundamentally redefining what we're capable of.
So, okay, let's just pause there. What does this mean for us? Imagine the ripple effects if these technologies, free energy, anti-gravity, rapid quantum healing, actually became public, accessible, not just for a select few, but for everyone. It's almost hard to grasp, isn't it?
It really is.
Our daily lives would be completely unrecognizable. Think about global politics. So much of it is shaped by controlling finite resources, oil, gas, minerals.
All that could become irrelevant.
Right. New alliances might form, old conflicts might just fizzle out. And our understanding of physics, which currently struggles with things like anti-gravity or claims of quantum healing,
Would need a complete rewrite.
yeah, ushering in maybe a whole new scientific revolution. And the very idea of poverty linked to lack of resources could vanish. Redefining economic systems built on scarcity, it just pushes the boundaries of our reality and asks us to imagine a world operating on totally different and seemingly much more abundant principles. Hashtag tag 2.2, the purpose of suppression.
But given how incredible, how transformative these technologies sound, it makes you ask the obvious question, doesn't it?
Why were they hidden if they're real?
Exactly. And the source gives a very direct, very blunt answer. It says explicitly they were redida por aqueles que desejavam manter o poder centralizado en poucas mãos, withheld by those who wanted to keep power centralized in a few hands.
Control.
Right. It points directly to a conscious, deliberate suppression. Not for safety, not because the science wasn't ready, but purely for control. Economic, political, even social control.
So it's about maintaining a specific power dynamic where scarcity and dependence are maybe deliberately created.
That's the implication, and the text reinforces this later. It explains that forças obscuras acumularam esas tecnologías para se guardando as como ferramentas de poder. Dark forces hoarded these as tools of power.
Okay.
Elas as esconderam não porque fossem inviáveis, mas porque sabían do potencial libertador que continham. They hid them not because they didn't work, but precisely because they worked so well and offers it huge potential for liberation.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it?
It is. The very act of hiding them is presented almost as proof of their power, their ability to fundamentally empower humanity.
So this raises a huge question then. If the existing power structures, the global systems, have been meticulously built around controlling these foundational technologies, what happens when that control is lost, irreversibly lost?
Massive upheaval, presumably.
It implies a restructuring not just of technology, but of, well, everything. Global governance, economic models, maybe even our social contracts. Releasing these wouldn't just be an upgrade, it would be a revolution, challenging every institution designed to maintain that centralized power. It sounds like a fundamental dismantling of old hierarchies.
Precisely. And the source describes the proximidade da revelação dessas tecnologias, the nearness of their revelation, as announcing o início de uma nova realidade, the start of a new reality, a civilization that subverta das correntes da escassez, frees itself from the chains of scarcity.
Okay.
It talks about a world that devolve abundancia natural ao seu povo, gives natural abundance back to its people, and transforma suas estruturas em nome da vida e da paz, transforms its structures in the name of life and peace.
So the end of artificial scarcity, where resources are deliberately limited to keep prices up or maintain control.
That's the vision. A return to a natural state of abundance where life and peace, not profit and power, become the guiding principles for how society is organized. It's presented as a complete flip of the current paradigm, moving humanity from enforced limits to inherent richness. Hashtag tag 2.3. Imagining a liberated world.
That vision is incredibly vivid. The source really pushes us to visualize it. Imagine a world where energy is truly free, just available, not tied to a meter, not controlled by a corporation. Imagine healing being accessible to everyone, not just those with the best insurance or the most money, but as a fundamental human right.
A different world.
A world where resources flow without artificial blocks, not manipulated by markets or politics or monopolies, and maybe most profoundly, imagine a world where human creativity isn't held back by lack or by oppression.
What would we do?
Exactly. This isn't just about convenience, it's about shifting from a scarcity mindset to one of deep abundance, where the daily struggle for survival is replaced by pursuing innovation, art, connection, spiritual growth, It's about unleashing potential that's been bottled up for generations, allowing us to focus on higher goals.
And it really does spark the imagination, doesn't it? If those basic needs, energy, health, food, were just met effortlessly, what would we focus on? Our collective genius.
Maybe an explosion of creativity, arts. Science is purely for discovery, not profit.
Perhaps. Education could transform, focus on wisdom, consciousness, not just job skills. But it's also worth considering, and the sources kind of hint at this too. Even in a world of abundance, new challenges might pop up.
Like what?
Well, without the external pressure of scarcity, would humanity just naturally aim higher? Or might new internal challenges arise? Like a crisis of meaning, new social dynamics we can't even predict. It's a provocative thought. Abundance itself requires a higher level of consciousness to manage wisely, perhaps. And this brings us right back to that crucial paradoxo we touched on earlier. The source states it very clearly. Toda a tecnologia é neutra em si mesma, mas torna-se benção ou maldição dependendo da consciência de quem a utiliza.
Technology is neutral in itself, becomes blessing or curse depending on the consciousness of the user.
Exactly. That statement is absolutely foundational to this whole discussion. It highlights that the tech itself has no inherent moral value, no built-in ethics. Its impact, whether it serves our highest good or our darkest impulses, is entirely down to the awareness, the ethics, the intentions of those who wield it.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that progress isn't just about clever inventions. It's about the wisdom, the consciousness that guides how we use them.
That's such a critical distinction, and it's not just a theoretical point, is it? The sources give some pretty stark examples that really bring this neutrality to life. They show how easily a tool meant for good, or with huge potential for good, can get twisted or misused. And these examples aren't abstract thought experiments, they're drawn from our own history, our current dilemmas. It makes the paradox feel incredibly real, incredibly urgent. Hashtag 3.2 historical warnings in modern dilemmas.
Yeah, the source provides some potent examples from history to really drive this home. Take nuclear energy. It's described as capaz de gerar luz para nações inteiras, capable of generating light for entire nations. Huge potential, right? Clean power, societal advancement. Yet, it was almost immediately convertida en bombas de devastação, turned into weapons of mass destruction. The same basic science, the same raw energy, channeled into creation and destruction.
A perfect example of the paradox.
Then there's artificial intelligence, AI. It's apresentada como auxílio e ferramenta de expansão, presented as helpful, a tool for expansion, augmenting our abilities, automating tasks, maybe unlocking new scientific frontiers.
Which is how it's often sold to us now.
Right. But the source warns, it's já manipulada para controlar consciências, vigiar populações e intensificar desigualdades. It's already being manipulated to control consciousness, surveil populations, and deepen inequalities.
We see headlines about that constantly. Algorithmic bias, surveillance capitalism.
Exactly.
Right.
We're seeing its potential for pervasive surveillance, for manipulating public opinion, for widening socioeconomic gaps through automation or biased systems. It's happening now.
Okay, and the third example.
Free energy, the very thing we just discussed, offering this incredible liberation from scarcity, holds the promise of an abundant world.
Right.
However, the source cautions, se mal utilizado, pode também desequilibrar o sistema, gerar caos ou intensificar o domínio de alguns sobre muitos. If misused, it could destabilize entire planetary systems, create unforeseen chaos, or simply reinforce the dominance of a powerful few over the many. Just using a new, maybe even more potent tool.
Wow. So it's this constant paradox. Technology is brimming with potential for liberation, yet holding this inherent risk of creating new forms of control or even chaos. When you look at those examples the sources give, nuclear, AI, free energy, what's the common thread you see in how humanity seems to misapply or weaponize these powerful tools?
That's a great question.
For me, it feels like this immediate leap from the beneficial idea to the destructive or oppressive use, almost like the underlying human drivers, power, greed, fear, often just override the original positive intent. It forces us to look at that inherent human duality and how vital our collective choice will be for these new technologies.
I think that's a profound observation. The common thread, as the sources really emphasize, is indeed that underlying human consciousness. It's about how we, collectively, choose to handle immense power.
Which leads where?
Directly to the core conclusion drawn in the source. Não é a tecnologia em si que cria o futuro, mas a consciência que a guia. It's not technology itself that creates the future, but the consciousness guiding it.
That's the heart of it.
That's the absolute core message of this paradox. It's not about how sophisticated the gadget is. It's about the spiritual and ethical maturity of the inventor and, crucially, of the user, the society using it.
Right.
It puts the internal human element front and center above the external tool. Technology is just an extension of our collective will. If that will is driven by fear or greed or control, then even miracles can become harmful. But if it's guided by love, unity, the greater good, then true liberation is possible.
And this isn't just about, big global decisions or abstract philosophy. It really invites us, you the listener, to consider our own relationship with technology, how we engage with it every single day.
Daily choices.
Every app we use, every device, every piece of information we consume, every interaction. Our consciousness, our discernment, our intention guides that. Are we using tech to connect, learn, create, uplift? Or are we maybe passively letting it control us, distract us, divide us? It brings this huge global paradox right down to our personal choices, showing how our individual awareness shapes not just our own lives, but potentially the collective future.
And the sources make it really clear that a transición que se aproxima no es apenas tecnológica ni meramente económica. Acima de todo, ella es espiritual. The approaching transition isn't just tech, isn't just economics. Above all, it's spiritual.
Okay, so the spiritual dimension is primary here.
That's the argument. It puts the spiritual shift right at the heart of the whole thing, suggesting the underlying change is really one of consciousness, not just updating our external infrastructure. It's not just about new gadgets or new money systems. It's a deep, fundamental shift in human awareness and values.
And how does this spiritual shift manifest externally?
Well, the text describes the velhas estruturas de control, the old structures of control, as ruindo diante dos olhos da humanidade, crumbling before our eyes.
What structures specifically?
Structures built on medo, a dívida e a manipulação, fear, debt, and manipulation. Foundations that the sources claim are now collapsing under their own weight, and also under the pressure of this awakening consciousness.
Can you give examples?
Sure. The source specifically mentions that sistemas financeiros artificiais baseados em exploração e desigualdade já não conseguem se sustentar. Artificial financial systems based on exploitation and inequality can no longer sustain themselves.
We certainly see signs of strain in the global economy, volatility, debt crises.
Exactly. It points to that inherent instability, the unsustainability of current models, showing signs of strain, fragility, maybe even ethical bankruptcy. And similarly, modelos jurídicos y políticos creados para aprisionar conciencias perden su fuerza diante de la luz de verdad.
Legal and political models losing their power.
Yeah, suggesting the very frameworks of law and governance, which maybe once held power through coercion or control, are losing their legitimacy as humanity awakens to a deeper, more universal sense of truth, justice, and sovereignty.
So, what does it really mean when these huge foundational systems, finance, law, politics, are described as crumbling? It sounds like more than just, needing a few repairs. It sounds like a complete teardown and rebuild.
That's the application.
What fills that enormous void left by the collapse of these systems that have been around for so long? The idea that existing ways are just not sustainable anymore. It's both terrifying, maybe, because of the uncertainty, and for many, probably exhilarating because it opens the door to something genuinely new, potentially much fairer. The question isn't if they fall, according to this source, but what new principles, what new structures will rise up to replace them? How is that void going to be filled? Hashtag TAC 4.2, the emergence of a new paradigm.
And indeed, the source immediately tackles that question. It presents the novo paradigma that's envisioned. It talks about sistema de abundancia, de transparencia y de justicia restaurado.
Abundance, transparency, restored justice.
Okay. A stark contrast to the old systems. Scarcity, opacity, inequality that are supposedly collapsing. The promise is that recursos desviados ao longo de séculos serão liberados. Resources diverted and hoarded for centuries will finally be released.
Released to whom?
Furthermore, riquezas antes acumuladas en cofres ocultos retornarão à colectividad. Wealth previously hoarded in hidden vaults will return to the collective.
Wow, that implies a massive systemic redistribution of wealth. Moving from hidden hands back to the common good, suggesting maybe an end to extreme economic disparity.
That seems to be the vision. And linking directly back to our earlier discussion on technology.
The suppressed tech.
Right. Tecnologías que curam y libertan finalmente llegarão às mãos da humanidad. Technologies that heal and liberate will finally reach the hands of humanity. So it completes this picture. A world where not only are resources abundant and fairly shared, but the tools for universal health, spiritual freedom, technological progress are also universally accessible, fostering a genuine collective flourishing.
That is a truly profound vision, a complete overhaul of how society works, really moving towards a kind of utopian ideal. But the source is clear, isn't it, that there's a crucial condition, a non-negotiable requirement for all of this to actually blossom.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not automatic just because the old stuff has fallen apart. There's a vital prerequisite mention, hashtag 4.3, the essential role of love and spiritual alignment.
Absolutely. The source emphasizes this fundamental requirement with, well, real clarity and conviction. Tudo isso só poderá florescer se o coração humano estiver alinhado ao amor. All of this can only flourish if the human heart is aligned with love.
That's the linchpin.
That's presented as the absolute key. It states that the verdadeira reinitialização não acontece apenas no mundo exterior, mas no íntimo de cada ser. The true reinitialization doesn't just happen out there in the world, but within each person.
So the external changes reflect an internal shift.
Precisely. The profound systemic changes, tech, economics, they're ultimately reflections of an internal spiritual transformation happening inside each individual. This is described as a chamado para reconectarse con la orden divina, para viver guiado pelo amor, pela reverencia à vida e pela sabedoria da alma.
A call to reconnect.
Yeah, an invitation to align with a higher divine order, to live from a place of unconditional love, deep respect for all life, and the inherent wisdom of the soul.
And how does this relate to science and technology?
The guiding principle is stated explicitly. É o espírito que precisa conduzir a ciência, é a consciência que precisa orientar a tecnologia. Spirit needs to lead science. Consciousness needs to guide technology.
That's a powerful statement.
It is. It places spiritual guidance, awakened consciousness, as the essential steering wheel for scientific and tech progress. And without that spiritual and conscious foundation, well, the source gives a stark warning.
Sem essa vez, até os maiores avanços podem se tornar novas prisões. Without that foundation, even the greatest advances can become new prisons.
Wow. So even things like free energy meant to liberate could end up enslaving us in new ways if our consciousness isn't ready.
That's the danger highlighted if they're not guided by awakened consciousness and a heart aligned with love.
Okay, this raises a really important practical question then. How do we cultivate this internal shift, this alignment with love and wisdom? Especially when there's so much external change happening, when old systems are collapsing and these incredibly powerful new technologies might be emerging.
It's a challenge.
It's easy to get swept up in the external drama, right? The news cycles, the visible chaos. But the source is clearly pointing us inward, asking us to prioritize a fundamental internal transformation.
It suggests that things like personal growth, compassion, self-awareness, connecting with our inner truth, these aren't just nice-to-have hobbies. They're essential, foundational. For the positive unfolding of this whole new era, it makes the inner work seem just as important, maybe even more important, than any outer action we might take. Okay, so we talked earlier about how these sources mention forças obscuras, hoarding technology for control.
Right, the suppression aspect.
And the source boldly states, "A hora da libertação chegou, nada poderá deter." The hour of liberation has arrived, nothing can stop it. That sounds incredibly definitive, inevitable.
It does. A very strong statement.
But then, almost in the next breath, it poses this critical, almost urgent question. Quem moldará o futuro is a grande questão. Who will shape the future? That is the great question.
So it pivots from inevitable liberation to choice.
Exactly. It's a powerful pivot, shifting from something that's bound to happen to a profound active choice about what comes next. It puts the responsibility of the power squarely back onto humanity.
And this is where humanity's ultimate choice really comes into focus. The source explains that a humanidad será chamada a decidir se deseja usar essas ferramentas para co-criar paraíso terrestre ou se permitirá que sejam usadas novamente como correntes invisíveis.
Paradise on Earth, or invisible chains again. A pretty stark choice.
It is a co-created paradise, or a return to control and scarcity, maybe just in new guises. And this decision, crucially, it's not just made in grandes conselhos or gobiernos, not solely by political leaders or global bodies or even the scientists.
So where is the decision made then?
Instead, it says the decision lies sobre todo en cada corazón humano. Above all, in each human heart.
In every individual.
That's the emphasis. The individual choice, the individual's alignment, their intention, their level of consciousness, That's presented as the most powerful factor determining the future. Every single person holds a piece of this collective decision through their daily thoughts, intentions, actions.
So it's not a passive thing then. We can't just sit back and wait, hoping someone else, some authority figure, makes the right calls for us.
Doesn't sound like it.
It sounds like active participation is required, a daily alignment. It implies that every decision we make, every thought we nurture, every intention we hold, every act of compassion or discernment, it all contributes to this overall energetic blueprint that will either build that paradise or maybe allow new forms of control and imbalance to take root. It puts immense responsibility and immense power directly into the hands of each one of us. Hashtag 5.2, the importance of collective consciousness.
In elaborating on that individual role, the source asserts that cada individuo es llamado a asumir su soberanía interior, a alinear sus intenciones como amor y como unidad.
Inner sovereignty. What does that mean here?
It seems to mean taking full ownership of your inner state, your thoughts, emotions, and consciously choosing to align them with higher principles. Love, unity.
Okay.
And then the source makes this crucial, almost scientific-sounding connection.
No basta que la tecnología esté disponible. Es necesario que la conciencia colectiva esté pronta para recibirla.
Just having the tech isn't enough. The collective consciousness needs to be ready for it. Exactly. That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Simply having access to, say, free energy or advanced healing tech isn't enough to guarantee a good outcome. The collective consciousness, the overall level of spiritual maturity, ethical understanding, unity within humanity must be prepared. Ready to wield these tools responsibly for the highest good of all, not just for selfish interests.
This brings us to such a critical point. If our collective consciousness isn't truly ready, then even the most amazing inventions can become armadillo's traps.
Right.
So what does spiritual maturity actually look like in this context? Is it about cultivating universal compassion, deep wisdom, the ability to consistently see beyond just self-interest or tribal divisions?
I think those are all aspects of it.
It feels like it requires a kind of collective agreement, a profound unity of purpose to really harness these gifts properly. Otherwise, that inherent duality of the technology, that blessing-curse potential we talked about, will inevitably show up again, maybe in new forms of control or imbalance. It's a huge challenge for us as a species, isn't it?
You really hit the core of it there. Spiritual maturity in this context seems to embody exactly those traits. Radical empathy, universal understanding, a deep sense of interconnectedness with all life, the wisdom to use power selflessly.
Moving beyond fear.
Yes, moving beyond a fear-based scarcity mindset to one of trust, collaboration, abundance thinking. It implies a collective discernment that can see through manipulation and a collective will to prioritize the well-being of the whole over individual or group gain.
And if we achieve that,
Then the source offers reassurance. Com elaborem tornom-se instrumentos de libertación definitiva. With that spiritual maturity, with that readiness of collective consciousness, these technologies transform. They go from being potential traps to becoming instruments of definitive, lasting liberation.
liberation not just from external limits.
Exactly. Liberation from internal limitations, too. It's presented as the absolute prerequisite for a truly free and abundant future. Hashtag 5.3, the promise of definitive liberation.
So just connecting this personal and collective choice back to the big picture, the source seems to be strongly implying that our readiness, our individual and collective spiritual maturity, is the deciding factor. It determines whether these powerful technologies become new chains or if they genuinely set us free.
That analysis feels spot on.
The true liberation, then, isn't just getting the cool new tech. It's about acquiring the wisdom, the collective consciousness, to use it for the highest good.
Right. It's a liberation of spirit as much as, or maybe even more than, a liberation from physical or economic chains.
Because without that internal wisdom, that collective alignment, even something like free energy could just become a tool for new power games, new forms of inequality, rather than actually freeing humanity.
Precisely. The inner state dictates the outer result, according to these sources. Now, the sources don't just talk about this as some future possibility or a distant prophecy. They explicitly state that ese punto de virada ya está en curso, está en toda parte. This turning point is already underway. The signs are everywhere.
Okay, so they claim we can see evidence now. What kind of evidence?
Well, it points first to visible shifts in global structures as concrete proof. We're told that antiguos sistemas financieros comenzam a colapsar. Old financial systems are starting to collapse.
Again, that resonates with current events. Market volatility, debt issues, challenges to traditional banking.
Exactly. It refers to that inherent instability, the unsustainability of current global economic models, showing increasing signs of strain, fragility, maybe pointing to things like sovereign debt crises, inflation, or even the rise of decentralized currencies challenging the old guard. It suggests a fundamental instability in models built on perpetual growth, debt, and maybe exploitation.
What else?
Furthermore, alianzas internacionales se reconfiguran. International alliances are reconfiguring, indicating a shifting geopolitical landscape. Old blocs, old treaties giving way to new arrangements, new power dynamics.
Driven by what? New economic powers, maybe?
Yeah.
Changing resource control, a rethink of sovereignty.
Potentially all of the above. And amidst all this disruption, novas formas de cooperação entre povos surgem silenciosamente. New forms of cooperation between peoples are emerging silently.
Silently, meaning under the radar.
Seems like it, suggesting that while the old systems crumble, new, maybe more harmonious ways of interacting and collaborating are already starting to sprout, often outside the glare of mainstream media.
Like what kind of things? Grassroots movements?
Could be grassroots humanitarian efforts, maybe global scientific collaborations that ignore borders, or even digital communities forming around shared values, often operating outside conventional government or corporate structures. They aren't always front-page news, but the sources suggest these are powerful indicators of deeper systemic shifts already happening.
So it's clear the source isn't just, making predictions. It's pointing to things happening now as evidence of this transformation. It's urging us to look beyond the surface noise, the headlines, and see these deeper currents of change. It makes me think, how often do we maybe dismiss these emerging cooperative efforts as just isolated things, when perhaps, viewed together, they actually represent the seeds of this new paradigm the source talks about. Hashtag 6.2 unexplained phenomena as cosmic clues.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that the source then expands its definition of signs way beyond just social or economic indicators. It gets into more esoteric territory.
How so?
It states, até mesmo fenómenos misteriosos como círculos nas plantações podem conter mensagens codificadas chaves para compreender princípios de energia livre e conexão cósmica.
Crop circles, seriously, they're bringing up crop circles.
They are. Often dismissed as hoaxes, right? Or explained away naturally or just seen as weird curiosities. But here, they're presented as potentially holding profound hidden information. Actual keys or clues?
Keys to what?
Keys, the sources claim. That could unlock an understanding of free energy principles.
How? Like the patterns themselves?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Complex geometric patterns representing energy pathways, maybe, or frequencies. And keys to understanding our broader connection to the cosmos.
Wow.
This suggests that intelligence beyond our conventional understanding, perhaps even non-human intelligence, is actively trying to communicate with humanity, offering insights into these very technologies, the bigger cosmic picture, leaving breadcrumbs for us to find and decipher.
That is a surprising claim, isn't it? It really broadens the idea of signs way beyond what we normally think about. Takes us from geopolitical shifts straight to geometric patterns and fields. It suggests a much wider, maybe even cosmic intelligence is involved here, offering us these keys. It implies the universe itself is somehow participating in this unfolding, leaving clues for us. Not just through science labs or political changes, but through phenomena that directly challenge our usual rational frameworks. It really stretches our perception of how knowledge might be shared or acquired, hinting at maybe a multi-dimensional conversation happening. Hashtag 6.3, a complete redefinition of civilization.
And all these signs, the source argues, both the obvious ones and the more subtle, mysterious ones, they all announce uma mesma verdade, a single overarching truth.
Which is?
The sources summarize it like this. As ilusões que aprisionaram a humanidade estão se dissolvendo. A prisão invisível feita de medo e manipulação começa a se desfazer diante de uma consciência que desperta.
An invisible prison, dissolving. That's a powerful image.
It is. Humanity has been living in this invisible prison of fear, debt, manipulation, and now it's dissolving as consciousness awakens. This moment, we're told, não representa uma simples reforma or ajustemos uma redefinição completa da civilização. It's not just a minor fix, not just tweaking the system, it's a complete redefinition of civilization itself.
A total overhaul.
Exactly. What's crumbling, the source clarifies, não é apenas sistema político ou econômico, é uma era inteira baseada em dívidas, manipulação e medo. It's not just one system failing, it's an entire era, an entire way of life based on debt, manipulation, and fear that's collapsing.
And what's being born in its place?
Uma estrutura alinhada às leis universais, fundamentada no respeito à vida, na cooperação e no amor. A new structure, aligned with universal laws, based on respect for life, cooperation, and love.
Okay.
The source further clarifies that ese proceso no es apenas humano más cósmico. It's not limited to just us, here on Earth. It's sustentado por energías que vienen del corazón del universo, sustained by energies coming from the heart of the universe.
Cosmic support for this change.
That's the idea. This cosmic support is impulsionando cada alma a participar no por imposición, no por luta, mas por conciencia, por amor y por escolha libre. It's pushing every soul to take part, not by force, not through struggle, but through awareness, through love, and through free choice. It's presented as a gentle but powerful invitation, driven by awakening consciousness and free will, not by external pressure or conflict.
That raises an interesting question, though. If this whole process is no apenas humano más cósmico, if it's sustentado por energías que ven del corazón del universo, how does that change how we think about our own individual agency, our choices?
How do you mean?
Well, it suggests that while our choices and actions are absolutely crucial, like we've been discussing, we're also kind of riding a wave, part of this immense, maybe benevolent cosmic unfolding, which might offer a sense of reassurance, perhaps, that we're not just struggling alone against overwhelming odds, but we're profoundly supported.
Yeah, I can see that interpretation.
It could mean our individual efforts aren't isolated, but they're actually amplified by this larger universal current, making each positive choice resonate maybe far beyond what we can immediately see or measure. The deep dive often gets into how individual actions can ripple out and create collective impact, and these sources really hammer that point home. They put it in very direct terms. They speak right to you, the listener, saying, cada pensamento que você emite, cada intenção que você ancora, cada ato que nasce do amor contribui para moldar um novo mundo que se aproxima. Every thought you emit, every intention you anchor, every act born of love contributes to shaping the new world that's approaching.
It's very direct.
It is. It's not abstract. It's presented as a direct, almost energetic link between your inner state and the tangible reality being created. It puts incredible power right in your hands, reminding you that your inner world is actively, dynamically shaping the outer world.
And that's a point that really cannot be stressed enough here. The source reinforces it by stating, nunca foi tão importante lembrar que a realidade coletiva é resultado da soma das escolhas individuais. It's never been more important to remember that collective reality is the sum total of individual choices.
Simple math, almost.
In a way. And to give you concrete examples right from the source, think about these everyday but incredibly profound actions. Quando você escolhe a compaixão, em vez da indiferença, quando opta pelo perdão, em vez da vingança, quando decide pela unidade, em vez da separação.
Choosing compassion over indifference, forgiveness over vengeance, unity over separation.
Right. These aren't just described as, personal self-improvement or isolated moral acts. These choices, choosing compassion, forgiveness, unity over their opposites, are presented as fundamentally altering the collective energetic fabric of humanity.
Wow.
They are tangible, maybe even measurable contributions to the unfolding of this new era, extending far beyond your immediate life, creating ripples in the collective consciousness. Hashtag 7.2, the energetic field of humanity.
And highlighting that ripple effect. The sources explicitly say these choices aren't just personal, they are sustentando campo energético que afeta toda a humanidade, facilitando o nascimento da nova era. Sustaining an energetic field that affects all humanity, making the birth of the new era easier.
An energetic field.
Yeah. This isn't just a metaphor for influence. It implies a real, measurable, energetic contribution to the collective transformation. Our individual alignment with love and unity, our conscious choices, they create this coherent, positive, energetic field that literally helps the new era with its promised abundance and freedom to manifest more easily in the physical world.
So individual actions become incredibly potent.
Far more potent and far-reaching than we usually think.
Right.
Connecting our inner state directly to global transformation.
That analysis is absolutely critical, I think. It suggests our internal states, our conscious choices contribute to a kind of planetary resonance,
Yeah.
a collective vibration. When enough individuals align with these higher vibrations, love, compassion, unity, it creates this powerful collective field that can quite literally speed up and support the emergence of the new world. It validates the immense power of personal transformation as a catalyst for global change. It makes each one of us an active participant in this cosmic unfolding, not just a passive observer. It's a direct call to recognize your inherent creative power. Hashtag tag 7.3, empowering emergent technologies.
And crucially, these individual actions, this shift in the collective consciousness,
Yeah.
it all ties directly back to those technological revelations we talked about earlier.
Let's press tech again.
Exactly. The sources state that these tecnologías emergent technologies can indeed acabar con escasez y abrir horizontes de creatividad infinita. They can end the slavery of scarcity and open horizons of infinite creativity. That's a huge promise.
Huge.
But there's a big resounding if attached. It's presented as a conditional promise, completely dependent on human readiness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the condition is spelled out clearly. It's non-negotiable. This amazing potential can only be realized. Somente se foram guiadas por uma humanidade desperta consciente y unida en torno do bem maior. Only if they are guided by an awakened, conscious, and unified humanity centered around the greater good.
There it is again. Consciousness is key.
It directly links the personal spiritual journey and the collective evolution of consciousness to the successful, beneficial rollout of these advanced technologies. Without an awakened, conscious, unified humanity, these powerful tools, no matter how good their potential, risk becoming new forms of control, making inequality worse, or just creating chaos we didn't intend.
Though it's the collective consciousness, the heart aligned with love, that truly empowers these technologies.
That's the message. It's what ensures they fulfill their promise of definitive liberation, ensuring they serve life instead of dominating it.
So this whole deep dive really seems to culminate in this profound call. A call to confidence, a call to action, directed right at you, the listener. It directly echoes the empowering message from the sources.
How so?
It urges us. Deixem para trás as ilusões do passado, as crenças limitantes que les disseram que vocês eram pequenos, impotentes ou indignos. Leave behind the illusions of the past, the limiting beliefs that told you were small, powerless, or unworthy.
Shedding the old stories.
Exactly. It's an invitation to shed those old narratives, those stories we tell ourselves or that society told us that keep us feeling small, incapable, separate. It's about recognizing and reclaiming the inherent power, maybe even divinity, within each of us.
And fundamentally, this is about liberation from fear, isn't it? Both personal fear and collective fear. The source explicitly asks us to liberemos grilhões invisíveis que mantinham suas consciências presas ao medo. Liberate the invisible shackles that kept your consciousness trapped in fear.
Break free from those unseen chains.
Right. Chains of fear, manipulation, insecurity that have bound humanity's consciousness for who knows how long. And in their place, we're called to empowerment. Firmemos na luz do coração, pois é a partir dele que a nova era será co-criada. Stand firm in the light of the heart, because it's from there that the new era will be co-created.
The heart as the center of creation.
It reinforces the heart as the true center of our creative power, the place where the authentic ability to shape the future, guided by love and wisdom, actually resides. It's a call to stand firmly in your authentic self, guided by your inner truth. Hashtag tag 8.2, the spiritual blueprint unfolding.
And the sources affirm that you, the listener, you are not just espectadores pasivos, passive spectators, watching this grand drama unfold.
What then?
You are coautores de una nova realidad, co-authors of a new reality.
Co-authors. That's a significant shift in perspective.
It is. It elevates every individual to a vital role in actually shaping what's coming. And to really bolster this idea, the text reassures us. A nova era já nasceu no plano espiritual e agora se desdobra no mundo físico. The new era has already been born on the spiritual plane and is now unfolding in the physical world.
Already born spiritual.
That's the claim, implying that the blueprint, the energetic template for this new reality, is already set on a higher dimension, and now it's steadily, inevitably manifesting here in our physical world. Our role then is to consciously align with that unfolding, to help express it through our choices, our actions.
And this leads to what feels like the ultimate reassurance from the source. A direct affirmation of readiness, of capability for each listener. It states, a liberdade que se anuncia exige responsabilidad y a responsabilidad pede maturidade espiritual, mas sabem vocês estão preparados. The freedom being announced demands responsibility, and responsibility calls for spiritual maturity. But know this, you're prepared.
We're prepared, even with all this huge change.
That's the message. Despite the magnitude of the shifts, the immense responsibility involved, there's this inherent trust, this inherent knowing conveyed that humanity and you individually possess the necessary spiritual maturity to navigate this profound transition, to co-create the future. It's an empowering validation of your inner strength, your intuition, your collective potential. Hashtag tag 8.3, the ultimate destiny of humanity.
So synthesizing this whole grand vision, the source offers this magnificent promise by escogiendo o camino de sabiduría y do amor, by choosing the path of wisdom and love, we co-creamos futuro donde reinamos a liberdad, a paz y a abundancia. We co-create a future where freedom, peace, and abundance reigns supreme.
The highest potential.
Presented as the highest expression of our collective potential. A truly golden age, you might say.
And this future, it's characterized by some very specific, very profound qualities. Donde a tecnología será vida, where technology serves life, instead of controlling or exploiting it. Donde ciencia se reconcilia con la conciencia, where objective knowledge, empirical science, bridges the perceived gap with inner knowing, intuition, spiritual wisdom. Science and spirit working together.
Right.
And ultimately, donde a humanidad despierta encontra finalmente su verdadero destino, where an awakened humanity finally finds its true destiny.
And what is that destiny?
The ultimate goal, the sources suggest, is to viver en harmonia con la creación como filhos y filhas do infinito, to live in harmony with all creation as children of the infinite. It's like a return to a state of grace, of wholeness, profound interconnectedness, living in perfect balance with the cosmos.
Wow. This deep dive has really been a powerful exploration, hasn't it? An invitation to a truly profound shift in perspective. It feels like a reminder of a collective mission, maybe, and a blessing. Urging us all to abran los ojos, abran los corazones y caminen con confianza. Open your eyes, open your hearts, and walk with confidence. What an incredible journey through the possibilities of our collective future. This deep dive really highlights the power of intention, the critical role of consciousness, and the profound impact our individual and collective choices can have, maybe even on a cosmic scale.
And maybe a final thought for you to mull over. If the new era has already been born on the spiritual plane, as these sources suggest, then consider what daily, maybe seemingly small choices you're making, your thoughts, your words, your actions. That could be actively nurturing its unfolding right here, right now, in the physical world.
Right.
How might your personal alignment with love, with unity, with that sense of shared responsibility, how might that unlock not just a better future for you personally, but contribute to a brighter, more harmonious collective destiny for everyone?
Thank you for sharing these incredibly insightful sources with us, and thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and maybe most importantly, keep co-creating. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day.